Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have a short news video today, just some stuff that had just been revealed earlier today by Collect Jurassic, and it was some really cool stuff that I wanted to get up on the channel as soon as possible because I figured you guys would really be interested in it. The first few things, actually everything in this video is from Mattel, but the first few things are some of the upcoming Strike Attack figures, and we have numerous new images of the Atrociraptor. Now this is that kind of greenish, almost sort of like a jungle type version of an Atrociraptor that also includes some quills on the back of the head, kind of Jurassic Park 3 sort of quills. And the more images I see of this, the more I really like it. Of course, it would have been cooler to have that green, like the lighter green running out onto the tail, maybe in like a striping effect or something, but I really love the tones of color that Mattel have chosen for this one. I think as a whole, it's probably one of the coolest looking Atrociraptor figures that they have released so far. So this is one that I am definitely looking forward to. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but it's still quite nice. The next one is the Gigant Spinosaurus. Now, this one I have mixed feelings on. I think as a whole, it looks weird. The tail kind of looks a bit too short. Just in general, the proportions look really off on this figure, but it also does sport some pretty nice detail as a whole. Like the head sculpt looks really nice, and a lot of the fine detail looks really nice. The paint scheme isn't really anything amazing, nothing really to write home about, but it's also not terrible either. And the figure kind of almost has sort of like a fully painted kind of a look. I mean, with the fact that the plates and everything are painted is a plus. Unfortunately, no painted nails or anything, but definitely a 50-50 for me on this one. I think this is one that time will tell on. I'll probably have to see in person to really decide if I like it or not. And then the next one is the Dilophosaurus. Again, this is a reused sculpt, as we've had this one a few different times. I think this might be the third time that we've had this particular sculpt. I could be wrong, maybe even more than that. But this one's okay. The paint scheme's kind of, not that great. It's almost like a Jurassic Park 3 female Velociraptor if you turned it into a Dilophosaurus and, of course, took away some of the patterning with the blacks. But again, it's another of those instances where it could have been pretty cool if it would have had more paint to it, but it's not the worst thing Mattel has released, I guess. Then we've also got some Hammond Collection reveals and some really nice ones and one not so great one, because we have, first of all, this image here, and obviously this image shows us the Dennis Nedry as well as the John Hammond, and I think both of those look really nice. We also have the Juvenile Tyrannosaurus and the Stegosaurus in this image as well, obviously a baby Stegosaurus. Now, I think the T-Rex is so much better than I was expecting and way better than the Amber Collection version from what we can see so far, and I have a pretty fair amount of confidence that it's actually going to be a really beautiful figure when it's, unveiled with all of the numerous images I'm sure they'll share. I think it's going to be a really, really nice looking T-Rex, but I don't know what happened to that Stegosaurus. That Stegosaurus is ridiculous looking, and it's very strange that they made such a weird looking Stegosaurus when we recently had that Legacy Collection set that had an excellent Stegosaurus. All they really needed to do was take that sculpt and add some extra articulation to it and a little bit of extra paint application, and it would have been a really good version of that young Stegosaurus from the Lost World Jurassic Park. And I think the majority of the figure looks okay-ish, but the head and the mouth area and everything just looks absolutely ridiculous, and could quite easily become the worst Hammond Collection figure out there, I think, just because the head and mouth area is just so strange looking. I really don't know what happened with that Stegosaurus, but from this angle, I don't think it looks very good at all, and maybe, when we see more angles of it, I could change my mind. It could actually just be this angle that makes it look so rough, but the entire head area just looks really weird to me from this angle, but I'll keep my fingers crossed again that maybe it's just the strange angle that we have here of the head, kind of making it look a little bit weird to me. And once we see the gallery of different angles and stuff, maybe it'll look a little bit better. Potentially one of the most exciting of all, because it's something we've been waiting for a very long time, and I did state this a little ways back in a news video that we'd be getting one, but here is the Hammond Collection Corythosaurus, and I think it looks really good overall. Again, it's hard to tell how nice the head sculpt looks when we have this angle. I feel like a closer look at it, some different angles, and everything might show off the head sculpt a little bit. I do fear that it'll have that kind of chunky head like we saw in the Parasaurolophus, but as a whole, again, I think it looks pretty nice. Not amazing, but definitely cool to have a Corythosaurus from Mattel regardless, and this is another figure that I really feel like we need more angles of to kind of dissect how nice the figure will actually be. But the final one here is one that is actually a color scheme I did not expect on it, but we have the Metricanthosaurus, and this one was a figure that we knew was coming, but I never in a million years expected to love it as much as I do. This thing looks absolutely as epic as it gets, and I know many people, even myself, were kind of looking forward to potentially having this paint scheme on the Metricanthosaurus, and I honestly thought this is what Mattel would go with, but they chose this color scheme instead, and I actually think I like this color scheme more. Like, it is so nice to look at. The tones of color throughout the entire thing are very striking. The figure as a whole has a gorgeous sculpt, gorgeous paint. It's hard to tell. I don't know if you guys can tell. I can't really figure it out if it has wrist articulation. I really hope it does, because it would be a shame for it to have pronated wrists. But definitely a really nice figure, and I honestly have a strong feeling that this here is going to be my favorite of all of the Hammond Collection figures once it officially releases. Another figure I really am aching to see numerous angles of, and once we get more angles of this and the Corythosaurus, I'll of course bring them to you guys in a news video. But in the comments section, let me know what you guys think of all of these brand new reveals. Again, thank you to Collect Jurassic for these images, and make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.